And we're back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rosicle. I, of course, am one of the hosts here at the channel. My name is Nathaniel. I'm joined by my lovely co-host.
Hi, I'm Ashley.
Yay!
Woo!
Okay, so we're talking about, hopefully you guys can see it here, cut off just a little bit at the top, but Nintendo Switch 2. We're talking more specifically about the virtual game cards. And fun fact, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, whether or not you purchase a Switch 2, you now have to deal with virtual game cards. Because this is just a change of their licensing agreement and all sorts of stuff. So this is here to stay whether we like it or not. And fun fact, I don't.
You don't like it.
So for those of you that didn't know, before we jump too much into things, just to help give you a little bit of context, Nintendo used to run, and still does for other things like subscriptions, a very standard primary based, you could have a primary Switch, I forget what it's called, subscription pass-through or something. It's got
Probably.
a weird name. But basically, you could pick a console where every user on that console could play your downloaded digital games.
Ooh.
And then any account where you logged into your account as a user and downloaded the games and had internet that wasn't that primary Switch was still able to play your digital games because it would just use the internet to check for licensure, right? That is now gone. It is replaced with the virtual game card system. We have opinions, but let's talk about first, going over this article, what the virtual game card system is. So if you guys look this up, you can see this wonderful video that explains it. We're not going to be going over that right now, but it's there. You can watch it if you want to. Virtual game cards make digital games even easier to use. All right, so this says virtual game card feature of the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 systems adds some of the flexibility of physical game cards to your digital game library. So they're trying to turn digital games into physical games. If you have two systems, you can digitally eject and load games from one system to another. And you can even lend games to members of your Nintendo account family group. All right, so then it kind of shows us what we do here. You see here we have open the home menu and select virtual games. So you're going to go to this. They have added it to the bottom section of the menu. Then previously, when you would go to collection and would go to the Nintendo Switch store to download any undownloaded software that you have purchased, this is now where you go to do it. Because if you don't have it loaded onto your system, you have to go here and load it onto your system. So then it will show you your whole digital game library, and it'll show you a whole bunch of games, and it'll tell you whether it's loaded into this system or whether it's not. Virtual game cards may not be available for demos in some Nintendo Switch Online member. Okay, sure. And then you select the game that you want to load and start playing as soon as the game data is downloaded. So you will say, hey, load onto this system. It gets downloaded. Great. It seems kind of seamless, but we'll talk more about how it isn't in some ways in a moment. All right, so now, moving your games between systems. If you're like us, we just did a Switch 2 impression video.
Yes.
We recorded it not long ago, but you guys should have already seen it. If you haven't, you can go check it out. It should be on the channel, where we mentioned we have a base model, we have an OLED, and we have a Switch 2. So we do have multiple systems that we might want to move our games between. Now, if you have two different systems linked to the same Nintendo account, you can choose which system to play it on, just like with a physical game card. So that's nice. All you do is eject the virtual game card from one system and load it onto the other. Already seems great, right? Once a virtual game card is loaded to a system, not only can you play it without an internet connection, but other user accounts on the system can play too. You can also manage and load virtual game cards via your Nintendo account on the Nintendo website. Okay, so let's talk about that, because it doesn't mention it here, and I don't know if it mentioned it in the video either. This is limited to 2 Switches, not 2 base Switches and then 2 Switch 2s, and just 2 of any Switch brand product, right? So the problem in that sense comes, this sounds great if the reality of this is basically this can be in any number of amount of Switches. You have this game card on that one, you have this game card on this one, this game card's on your friend Jimmy's, whatever.
Exactly.
That would be much more akin to what an actual game card is like, right? I have my Mario Kart 8, my other friend has my Zelda, this friend has the Pokemon game card that they've had for 6 months because I didn't want it back, really. Whatever it might be. But that's not how this works. You have
Nope.
to link the Switches, which kind of makes sense. But then you also have to, like, you can only have it between two. And I think this is to save people from just, like, making a service of their games where they go, hey, you can rent my game to this Switch.
That actually makes a lot of sense. We didn't really consider that.
Well, I assume that's why it exists, and I assume that's why it has to exist. That's why primary is only one console at a time.
Yeah.
Right? So I like that this basically means, in a sense, you can have two primary consoles, because you can move them all onto this console, or you can move them all onto this console, or
pretty easy.
This can be the primary for these games, and this can be the primary for these games. But the other benefits of primary, like the subscription benefits and that sort of things, are still locked to one console. So, And then, again, in our situation, where we have three, okay, that's a lot for two people. I'll admit that much. That's kind of because we came into the relationship each having one, and then we bought the two. But for a family that might have 4, 5, 6, this can, I understand we're about to get to lending it to family group members, and we'll get to that in a second. But, like, if you just had one primary Switch, everybody's users could play on that. Now, that did make things difficult for kids to play on their own individual Switches.
Exactly.
Which is where we get to the family group thing going on. So let's read the last section here, and then we will share our thoughts and whatnot. All right. This is probably where it says that you can only get 2 or something. All right. So you can also lend out virtual game cards to your Nintendo account family group members. So one, you have to be in a family group, but if you're a family and you all own Switches, you probably should be.
Yep.
Connect to your family group member system via local wireless when you want to lend a game. So you do have to be near each other.
Yep.
Both systems must also be connected to the internet. Technically in effect on some people, so keep that in mind. Although digital games aren't for those that have no access to internet. That's not.
But still.
That shouldn't be what you're buying, but... all right, you can lend one game per account for 14 days unless the borrower returns it earlier. Okay, after the game is returned, the borrower will still have their save data, so they'll be able to start where they left off if they borrow again or purchase the game. Both local wireless and internet communication are required for lending software.
Yeah, that's not important.
Special stuff. All right, great. So, this is where they're trying to fix that issue, where they say, okay, if the dad of a family buys Super Mario Bros. Wonder, there's nothing that stops him from playing it on his Switch, giving it to his wife to play on her Switch, and then giving it to each of their children to play on their Switches, right? So they have purchased one version of the game, and they are all able to play it.
The issue. As the dad in this situation, you can only lend one game per kid.
Mm-hmm.
You can only lend to 3 people at a time. You cannot lend to more than 3 accounts. You forgot about that. It's not in here. It's mentioned at other times.
Gotcha.
You can only lend to 3 different accounts.
And you can only lend one game to those different accounts.
Exactly.
So if your, son was wanting to play your Pokemon and also was wanting to play your Breath of the Wild game, they have to choose which one they're being lent at that time. Sure, their save data doesn't go away, but if they want to play the Breath of the Wild and then 3 hours later want to play the Pokemon game, the only solution is to bring both Switches near each other, is to connect via the thing, return the original game, borrow the other game, play it. When he wants to play Breath of the Wild again, get both Switches together. It's just
not great.
Going to be a big hassle. And then the one upside to primary, which I understand that this technically makes it a little more versatile than the original primary. Where
Absolutely.
Previously, those kids, you say, hey, if you want to play Mario Wonder, you can do it on your account, but you got to do it on this Switch, right?
Yeah.
Or you have to sign into Dad's account and just play the game on the Dad's account, or whoever owns the game, Mom's account, whatever, on your Switch. But if you want to play it on yours, you got to play it on this Switch. So I like that this fixes that in the sense that now they can play it on their Switch. Or if they have a Switch Lite, they can play it on their Switch Lite. That's good, but we've sacrificed my ability to be over at a friend's house, know that I own Mario Wonder, log into my account on their Switch, boot it up, just to realize it's loaded as a virtual game card on my Switch 2, but my Switch 2 is paired to my OLED, neither of which I have with me.
Yeah.
So now I can't put the virtual game card on his Switch that I'm at his house for to play the game with him. And it is basically now a digital equivalent of I forgot my cartridge.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's really what that is.
This feels like it's creating a new issue.
It's a digital equivalent of I forgot my cartridge, except now it's, I forgot one of my linked switches. You have to bring the whole Switch. And if I'm bringing the Switch...
Just bring a dock for it.
But if they have a Switch we're about to play on, they have a dock.
Literally.
Which means I could have just brought the Switch and played on that Switch, right? Like, they could just add their user onto mine and then play it on that. So... it seems like it's creating a bigger problem to me.
Absolutely.
For what I will make a point to be a bit of a solution. The lending to family members, as annoying as it is that it's one at a time, so I will not claim it's anything like having an actual cartridge. One thing I will say is that while doing this, the main account that owns the game, when you lend it, you lose access to it.
Yep.
So I don't understand why, I don't know, and someone correct me in the comments below, why they had to limit this. Because if I'm losing access to it, why can't I lend it for 6 months and lend 3 of them to one person? I don't really see why, and it's not even like, I guess the 14 days, I'm curious because they can then just borrow it again.
Yep.
Why is there a limit on it? I mean, I understand that there needs to be a way for the lender to get their game back. That's not okay.
So
it's not okay.
Like,
so you can't have a friend be like, hey, I'm in your friend group. I'm in your family group. Send me the game. And then they peace out and play it for the rest of their life. Yeah,
exactly.
I get that. But that's as simple as having a button that says return to me,
Yeah, exactly.
So as long as that exists, why would this need to... Because I notice here in parentheses, it says unless the borrower returns it earlier... Yeah. Which makes it sound like the lender can't just take it back.
I don't think you can.
In which case, I understand why there needs to be a limit now, where you go, okay, well, if they don't want to return it to me, at least I'll get it back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it'll be automatically returned in 2 weeks.
I just feel like a simple solution here is get your game back. It's your game,
Yeah.
Sure, with a physical cartridge, you can play the argument where they go, no, I actually bought this. Kids are kids, and
kids are kids. They'll lie.
They'll lie. They'll claim that it's theirs. Yada yada. But a digital license is connected to your account. There's no way to lie about it, right? So you just go, no, it's mine. Give it back. And if it's in a family, I don't know. This seems a little extra to me. I understand that your family group is supposed to be people in the household. I know not everybody does that. So some family groups are just 5 or 6 friends that are in the local area. Great. Those are the people you would have been borrowing cartridges to anyways. So I don't think that's a problem.
No.
But, I just don't think this was well thought out, in my opinion, right? I understand this needing to be limited because people could just do, I said, rent my game services, and they don't want to create ways that people could profit, This, I feel like, could have been thought out a lot more. Yeah. I really do. So that's how the virtual game cards work, and they do a whole animation when you slot it into your system. It'll have a little virtual version card of the game that goes into your system. It looks kind of cool, I won't lie, but it just seems extra. I will say, I learned this the other day. When you go to virtual game cards, if you want to kind of skip that process and just load 30 of them at once, they do have a select multiple, load all at one time option. So if you are frequently transferring 50 games from one system to another because you have a home switch and a travel switch, you don't have to sit through the whole transfer, done, and then do it 50 times. Yeah. You can just mass select them all and then transfer, which is nice. That part's nice. But
honestly, our opinion on this, terrible.
I just don't think they present it as a good thing. If you watch the video, if you watch their showcases where they mention the virtual game cards, this is affecting all of the previous Switches as well. And they present it as, great, now your digital games can do more. But in a lot of ways, the digital games can also do less. So I'm not pretending these aren't good ways, but it's just something to keep in mind.
Sorry, y'all. Maintenance is here for Him, probably.
Probably.
You finish it out.
All right. Well, that's really most of what we have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to the channel. Any of all of it is greatly appreciated. Let us know what you think about virtual game cards down below. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. We're excited to try out this system more. Maybe we'll fall in love with it, but I highly doubt it. We do really look forward to hearing what you guys have to say. And that's really all we have in this one. May those rules be ever in your favor. Until next time, we'll see you guys then. Peace out. Bye, y'all.